Thank everybody for being here today. Today is a stereotypical example of how weather can change dramatically in the state of Texas. Here in Austin, fairly pleasant outside. In parts of the Rio Grande Valley, it may even get up to in the 80s later on today. So many regions of the state seem like the weather's just fine. If people are not paying attention to it, they're going to be shocked by what's going to happen over the next few hours and the next few days. In the next few hours for the remainder of today and into tomorrow, we actually are dealing with fire-based concerns out in the West Texas region, ranging from El Paso over to Pecos, Texas. It's an element that Texas emergency responders are making sure that they're going to be able to monitor, contain, provide the resources, whatever is needed. And then after that, there's going to be a storm coming in that will bring a lot of heavy rain to East Texas and especially Southeast Texas, where we are monitoring for potential flooding situations in those areas. And then is going to come what will likely be the coldest weather event of the year. And actually in some places in the state of Texas, it may be the coldest event ever marked in history in the state of Texas. Once again, extreme cold in North and Northwest Texas should begin on Tuesday morning. At that time, some wind chills may be as low as 0 or even -0. After that, going into Wednesday and Thursday, there will be widespread freezing across almost the entire state of Texas, and even temperatures down to near 0 degrees, with wind chill factors being below 0 degrees. The key point is going to be this, and that is when temperatures get that cold, lives are at risk. People need to be very cautious here in the coming days as the temperatures plummet to make sure that you take care of yourself. Temperatures are going to be colder than what most Texans have experienced. The more you expose your body to temperatures outside, the more that you pose a risk to your health and safety, especially for prolonged periods. So just be very watchful and cautious about your exposure to ultra cold temperatures. And to state the obvious, listen, we all know when cold temperatures hit, it could impact your pipes in your homes. Actions that you can take beginning today can help you get ready to prepare your pipes, to prepare your homes, to prepare your apartment, to wherever you live, to make sure that you will have it as winterized and safeguarded against this ultra cold temperature as much as possible. Not to mention your pets. Pet exposure to temperatures, again, in some regions that could get close to 0, are going to be extraordinarily challenging for any pet outdoors. And so, again, now is the time to begin getting prepared for those ultra cold temperatures and what they may do to your pets. Already, I have directed the Texas Division of Emergency Management to increase the readiness level of the State Emergency Operations Center to level 2, which is an escalated response ahead of the severe cold that's coming our way. Over this past weekend, more than 450 TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation personnel prepared for winter weather by pre-treating roads, bridges, and overpasses with over 400,000 gallons of brine and more than 10,000 cubic yards of granular material. I've also directed the Texas Department of Transportation to deploy winter weather roadway equipment and crews to not just pre-treat roadways, but to maintain the treatment of roadways as the temperatures plummet and as certain regions, especially in North Texas, may get some level of precipitation, whether it be ice or potentially snow. I've also directed Texas Department of Transportation to provide both personnel and equipment to assist with traffic road closures and safety. I've instructed the Texas Division of Emergency Management to have field staff work with local partners to update warming centers around the state. It's going to be very important as temperatures get so low. That warming centers are available in all these various regions so that we can protect the safety and the lives of our fellow Texans. I've directed the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service to provide public works response teams in all of the affected regions across the state. Directed the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to provide air, water, and wastewater monitoring. Directed the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension to provide disaster assessment and recovery agents, as well as county extension agents in the affected regions across the state. Worked with the Public Utilities Commission, from whom you'll hear shortly, to monitor power outages and coordinate with utility providers across Texas. Worked with the Railroad Commission, and they are monitoring the natural gas supply and communicating with the oil and gas industry to make sure that we have the supplies of natural gas that will power our generators and electric power grid system across the state as we make our way through this winter storm. Directed the Texas Department of Public Safety to deploy Texas Highway Patrol troopers to patrol roadways in all of the affected regions. Directed the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to have their game wardens deployed to support local law enforcement. The Texas Education Agency is monitoring school district needs across the state. Obviously, there's going to be some ultra cold days for our schools here in the coming days. And in addition to that, the National Guard is prepared to respond as needed on a 24-hour operational basis. Next will be Chief Nemkid of the Texas Division of Emergency Management.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you all for being here to help us get this message out. We'll go chronological order. As you heard the Governor say, today we're focused on wildfire threat and the Pecos region out to El Paso and West Texas. Our A&M Forest Service personnel are already in theater ready to support local government, local firefighters there. As we transition across the state and in Tuesday into Wednesday, we're looking for not a heavy amount of rainfall, but the rate of fall could be enough that produces flash flooding in the southeast Texas area. Texas A&M Task Force 1 has boats ready, as well as our game wardens are in that area working with our local partners. And then as we get ready for this Arctic front that comes in Tuesday into Wednesday, this is really what I'm concerned about, and it's the cold weather and the wind chills that we'll see for our people, our pipes, and our pets. You'll hear warming centers. Our website has the list of those warming centers. I'm very thankful to all of our local governments that are opening and operating those centers. We have staff ready to assist them if needed. If you find yourself out driving around and stranded on the side of the road in these ultra-code conditions, don't forget, on the back of your Texas driver's license is an 800 number. That number is 1-800-525-5555. That will be answered by the Texas Department of Public Safety. And if you're stranded there and need help, we have resources that are ready to come and get you and assist you to either getting home or into one of those warming centers. We're really going to focus on taking care of our people and our pipes and our pets. As the Governor mentioned, our website will hold a list of all of the licensed plumbers in the state of Texas. Take the time now to go figure out how to shut the water off to your house in case you do get a broken pipe so that you can mitigate some of that loss. And then finally, Governor, we see that when temperatures get this cold, people do anything they can to stay warm. Don't forget, carbon monoxide is a silent killer. It is odorless and colorless and tasteless. Do not burn wood-burning appliances that are not approved for use inside your home. Be sure if you have generators running or you're going to use heaters that are fuel burning, make sure that you keep those outside or good ventilation. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Now, Pablo Vegas, the CEO of ERCOT.
Thank you, Governor. So right now we are in planning and preparation mode. We work very closely with the Texas Energy Reliability Council. We work closely with the Public Utility Commission as well as with TDEM. And of course, we're coordinating every day with the power generators and the transmission service providers across the state to make sure everybody is prepared, has the resources that they need, and are going to be able to make it through this cold event reliably. We expect to have adequate supply to meet demand during this cold weather event. I want to remind folks that some of the most impactful changes we've made over the last few years, like weatherization, continue to be a highly effective tool that we see great results from. Just this year, we've already done over 300 inspections of supply resources, power generators, more than 150 in our transmission service space, and we're going to continue to do more this February and finish up this winter. In addition, we also have some new reliability tools that we've been able to leverage over the last couple of years that are extremely helpful. Things like a firm fuel supply, where there's over 4,000 megawatts of power generators out there that have backup fuel supply in case there were to be any issues or disruption in the gas supply system. So we have those reserves available to us as well. And I'd like to remind folks that we continue to see rapid growth of power generation on the ERCOT grid. Just since last March, since last winter, we've added over 13,500 megawatts of new supply onto the grid. That supply is going to continue to be helpful as we get through these cold events. A lot of it is solar and batteries, both of which are going to help us as the sun comes up on the cold day. The batteries helping us as we bridge in the morning. That's what helps us keep that reliability expectation high as we get through this event. So thank you for that. And if there's any questions about outages, they're generally likely going to be local in nature. The Public Utility Commission website has great resources where you can go to if you are experiencing an outage to understand what the restoration times will be from your local utilities. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. Now, Thomas Gleason, the chair of the Public Utilities Commission.
Thank you, Governor Abbott. So as the governor said, the PUC, we've been in constant communication with the state's generators and transmission distribution utilities. I can report that no one has expressed any concerns about the winter cold. The generators have all confirmed that they have adequate supply of fuel. The transmission distribution utilities have cut back thousands of miles of vegetation to mitigate the impact of any falling trees or any ice if that were to occur. As always, if there is an outage that you experience, it is local in nature. Please contact your transmission distribution utility. Also, if you ever encounter a down power line, please contact your local transmission distribution utility. That information can be found at the PUC website at puc.texas.gov/storm. That's our storm resources page. There's also other pertinent information on that page as well to help get you through any type of cold weather event. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. And now, Mark Williams with the Texas Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Governor. So the Texas Department of Transportation has been in a state of preparation and readiness for the conditions that the governor spoke about earlier. Fire danger out west, flash flooding risks in southeast Texas, extreme cold over a large portion of the state, and even chances of wintry precipitation and icing primarily across the north part of the state. So our message to motorists is this: take precautions and closely monitor the conditions in the areas that you are at. Depending upon that area, motorists should be aware of the extreme cold risk that's out there, freezing precipitation, flash flooding, and the fire risks that I spoke of. Drive to conditions or avoid travel if possible, as those conditions may pose a danger to travel. Slow down, avoid high water in those areas that may be impacted by flash flooding, and also be aware of the risk that you can pose for fire dangers as a motorist, that you may be out traveling if you might park in high grass, dry vegetation. We've got a lot of that out there right now on our roadsides, discarding cigarettes or dragging chains if you may be pulling a trailer. Those can all pose risks to create fire conditions. So appreciate the opportunity. Also, a reminder for motorists is to be aware of drivetexas.com as the site for finding information on roadway conditions around the state.
Thank you very much. To close this, listen, we are aware that when Texas gets ultra cold temperatures, maybe even record-breaking cold temperatures, a lot of Texans are concerned, will the power grid hold up? And as you've heard here today, the fact of the matter is that the power grid has never been stronger than it is now. The power grid is more prepared, more stable, and more resilient than it's ever been. There's every reason to be 100% confident that the power grid is going to be able to withstand this challenge. The power grid that we have today is completely different than it was 4 years ago, both with regard to the amount of power that it has, with regard to the winterization that it has, with regard to the pipeline of natural gas to get to the power generators. And even if the power generators are unable to get that, they have power storage on site to make sure that the power is going to stay on. The bottom line is that the power grid, because of the almost 20 laws that I've signed, has never been more prepared for a winter storm like this. Happy to take a few questions.
The chairman of the ERCOT there, you had mentioned the increased megawatts. I wonder if you could put that in terms of household number, be powered? And also, can you compare that with the growth of the state since 2001? Are we ahead or are we about even?
No,
Yeah.
we're definitely have added more supply since 2021 than we've seen in load growth since 2021. And each megawatt can power about 250 homes in Texas. So you can do the math, 13,500 megawatts times 250 homes. It's several million homes that can be powered by this incremental supply.
Governor,
Go ahead.
you and Chief Kidd kind of touched on this. I can't remember in recent history that the state has had to juggle this many different issues changing so fast. Can you remember in regards to that? And are you confident that the teams out there on the roads right now can handle this juggling? Because this is going to change fast.
Because of the size of Texas, and you know, the Panhandle to Brownsville, from Texarkana all the way over to El Paso, there are almost always a lot of conflicting weather events across the entire state of Texas. Yes, we've been able to deal with massive flooding and fires on the same day, tornadoes in some areas and in cold regions in other areas. Again, just because of the sheer size of our state, it's not uncommon for us to be able to deal with multiple weather events at any one particular time. That's why, and I cannot emphasize this enough, Texas has the #1 Division of Emergency Management and the Chief Kidd of any state in the United States of America. We have better leaders in all of these positions than any other state that are experienced at dealing with these multifaceted weather events, and they will be able to work us through this weather event successfully, just like they have hundreds of other times.
With that said, it seems like that you're worried that people are being lulled into a false sense of security.
Well, listen, when you are driving around today in most of the state of Texas, the sun is shining, the weather seems fine. People may not be watching your newscast and see what the weather forecast looks like for the rest of the week. And what we are wanting to do today, we didn't want to have this on like Tuesday or Wednesday when the weather was already here. We wanted to make sure that Texans had a 24-hour, 36-hour warning in advance about what is coming, the severity of what is coming, and what they can begin to do right now to get prepared for this, and just understand that it's going to be a few days of ultra cold weather, and to do the best they can not to expose themselves or their pets or their family members to the ultra cold weather.
Governor, along those same lines, Texans still have vivid memories of Winter Storm Uri. Would you compare this coming event to that one, especially with these other disasters attached, fires, flooding?
So listen, the cold in some areas may be even colder than it was 4 years ago. There is a difference between this week and what happened 4 years ago in several ways. One is for several days, almost an entire week, the entire state of Texas was at or below freezing. That's not going to be the case here, so it's not going to be as severe in so many different regions. There may be a time period where in the Rio Grande Valley it may get to freezing or close to freezing, but it's not going to be like it was then. Second, going back to 4 years ago, there was a prolonged period of cloud coverage that denied the capability of all the different resources that provide power input to our power grid. And that's not going to be the case this time. And so not only are we better prepared to withstand what would have happened 4 years ago, but the conditions this time will not be quite as severe as they were last time, even though the temperatures may be lower.
Governor, what conditions are there here in Central Texas, and what concerns are there?
So I may have you answer that because listen, it's going to get cold in Central Texas. There's a map right behind you that shows where the precipitation is, and in Central Texas, depending on how you define Central Texas, let's say the Austin region with a 100-mile radius, there is highly unlikely there's going to be any precipitation. But I'll have Chief Kidd give you a more detailed explanation of what people in Central Texas should expect concerning temperatures.
Yeah, thank you, Governor, and great question. West Texas fires, North Texas, a lot of cold, Southeast Texas, a lot of flooding. Lower Rio Grande Valley could be nice and warm. Right here through this area is where people or probably will be lulled into the biggest false sense of security. You know, you miss the forecast by 50 or 100 miles. We could get a little bit colder. We could stay nice and warm, and I really just need people to pay attention. Today's a holiday for a lot of people that are out right now. I doubt they're going to be getting the message out. That's why we need you to help us get this message out, especially some that may be traveling over a 3-day weekend and coming back. We want to make sure they get home safe.
Kind of following up on the discussion, and this may be a question for Mr. Gleason or Mr. Vegas, talking about power generation. When you've got the grid and you have such extreme back and forth between, you know, it's going to be warmer and wildfire risk in some areas, colder in certain areas, does that sort of, the two extremes, does that affect how the grid gets its energy at all, and then it's distributed to different folks across, you know, you got some people with their AC on, some people with their heater on. How does that work out?
Sure. I'll let the Public Utilities Commission and ERCOT explain that to you.
Yeah, so, you know, we, as the governor said, 20 or so laws passed that he signed. We have requirements on those generating facilities to be able to perform in both cold and hot weather. So I don't anticipate that we'll see any issues with reliability because some areas of the state are experiencing different conditions than others.
And I would just add that we really benefit from the diversity of the supply resources that are spread throughout the state. The geographic diversity is incredibly helpful. Because you can have a weather event in Southeast Texas and you have, you know, perfectly normal weather in the northwest portions of Texas, creating where a lot of our wind supply is, or in the northern part of Texas where a lot of our solar resources are. And so as we see these fluctuations, you know, where you've got very cold, very warm, and moderate, all spread out at on the same day, we've got a plentiful supply of diverse resources that can all be contributing to help generate. And then underlying it all, we've got, of course, our our thermal fleet, which is made up of our coal, natural gas, and our nuclear systems. So they all work together. It becomes a little more operationally challenging when you've got some of the extremes from the north to the south, but it's nothing that ERCOT and the utilities can't work with together and make sure we get through it reliably.
How intense do you see the wildfire threat out in West Texas? Any possibility that could be as far as seen in California recently?
So I don't think it'll be what we've seen in California. I will tell you it's an elevated wildfire risk because of dry fuels, low humidities, and high winds. And really, we can stop a lot of these from starting if this old Smokey Bear, only you can prevent them. Remember, the majority of wildfire in Texas is human caused. So as the director of TxDOT said earlier, what we really want to do is make sure that motorists that are out there do everything they can not to start fires.
Also, I'll tell you this, and that is in the meeting that we had before coming out here, the state is fully prepared for whatever type of fire may come up. As an example, they have about 10 or so planes that are ready to respond. And some could be able to drop water, some could be able to drop retardant, in addition to the people on the ground who are prepared to respond to it. We are prepared to be aggressive. And candidly, I think we're going to be over-prepared to deal with whatever may occur. But listen, we don't want to take anything for granted. We want to make sure that we keep people safe. And part of keeping people safe is keeping them alert in those regions from El Paso to Pecos. But the other thing, as was mentioned by the Texas Department of Transportation, there are certain actions that if you're negligent about what you're doing, that can cause a fire. I think the reference was made, if you're dragging chains behind your truck or something like that, that could cause a spark that could lead to a potential fire. In these times of potential fire danger, it's important for everybody in that particular region just to be a little bit more cautious. Maybe not the best time to have a campfire or something like that. Be cautious about any type of fire anywhere or anything that you may do that could be a catalyst for a fire.
Is it too soon to be thinking about federal disaster declarations? Or are you in touch with the administration on this?
So way too soon. Again, this is, except for certain small regions of the state of Texas, north and northeast Texas, not really considered to be a precipitation event. It's just going to be a very cold event. And there's not anticipated to be any meaningful amount of damages that would arise that would be a reason why we would get FEMA disaster declaration. So there's nothing that we're looking at right now. Obviously, we're prepared to pivot very quickly and seek a declaration of when is needed.
Governor, off topic in regards to some of the cuts that the Trump administration is doing. Texas has a large number of federal workers, and many of them today are wondering if they're going to have a paycheck next month. Are you concerned that the Trump administration is going a little bit too fast, too soon with some of these federal reductions in job RIFs?
On the details, I simply don't have the details. On the concept, I think a lot of people agree that government had grown too large. Some level of downsizing is very important. It creates greater efficiency. But at the same time, there's been an extraordinary amount of wasteful and fraudulent spending that's been uncovered. Those are taxpayer dollars, and those taxpayer dollars have to be guarded very tightly to make sure that if a taxpayer gives money to the federal government, it's not going to be wasted on providing benefits to people who are dead, providing to these outrageous causes across the entire globe. And so as the Trump administration has stepped into this, they are realizing that the magnitude of the way that money has been wasted or spent fraudulently or whatever the case may be. And they will be able to calibrate what the response is as they gain more access to more information about the magnitude of the problem that they're dealing
I
with.
hear that, but would you like to see him tap the brakes a little bit? Here in Austin, IRS, San Antonio, very large military installation, Fort Cavazos up to the north of us, El Paso, a lot of federal jobs here in Texas.
Right. And again, I don't know the details about all that. You'll need to direct your question to the Trump administration.
The
Thanks, guys.
state-
No, we're done. Thanks, guys.